Good evening. This is Eric, Last Day's Voice, and I'm here to talk about some of the things that are going on in the world today. Just recently, just within the last several months, we have seen everything from early tornadoes and their devastation to a very long drought situation that has been hitting the Southwest and California, to the point right now that California is in a basically we're in emergency. Not quite a disaster area yet, but we're in a water emergency, and we have been asking here in California for relief from other states to send their water, such as California, and also up north, and which really they don't have any water to send to us, really. We have had earthquakes all the way around the Ring of Fire in the Pacific, along with volcanoes erupting. We've had numerous earthquakes here over the 100 mark here in California, some as high as a 5.6, which could be a warning sign of an earthquake of a very higher magnitude. We have seen at Mount Rainier a lot of earthquakes there being monitored. I think that was also over the 100 mark, if I believe right. We have also seen the situation in Yellowstone Park is becoming more active. These things are all warning signs. These are the signs of the travail of the last days of the earth. The prophet said that in the last days the earth shall spew out its inhabitants. This means that God will proclaim judgment upon the masses through the earth. We've also seen flooding, and we've seen landslides. So we see the weather and we see the ground trembling, and we see all these things, and yet people just, they keep going on. They don't stand and wonder why, even though some do. They wonder why and amaze. But most people, they just go on and say, well, that's just the way it is. And, the Bible also said, too, that God would give them over to a strong delusion to believe a lie. Well, the lies are out there, folks. And, the false religious system is going full blast with their false doctrines. And then at the same time, we have the government of the United States proclaiming judgment upon this nation, through the disbelief in the true gospel of Jesus Christ as presented through true living apostles. God is also warning us about the time that we are in through Hollywood. We see a movie now which has just come out, although I do have some, let's put it this way, I have a bone to pick with the producers of that movie and the directors, because it wasn't done truthfully. But yet, it is still about Noah. It is about the judgment upon the planet through the flood, and so on. So we see God warning us about the time that we are in now through Hollywood. He can use whoever he wishes. If he can use a donkey, he can use Hollywood. So we're seeing that taking place. And to get to my criticism on the movie, one, Noah got direct revelation from Enoch about the flood and not Methuselah. He also was told through the manifold graces of God and also through angelic voices. Also, the Watchers are not big hulks of rock. Matter of fact, the Watchers are alive and well with us today. The fallen Watchers are actually demonic. These are demonic spirits. Now, the demonic spirits mated with women at that time to produce giants. And yes, there were such things as giants, and they did walk the earth. And the Watchers at that time, the demonic Watchers, ruled the earth. And brought man under subjection to them, so that they can kill off man, because man would later have the inheritance of Jesus Christ. So, we've got the demonic watchers. Now, Watchers is a broad word because it just doesn't mean demonic watchers. Okay, there are two different kinds of watchers. Watchers are actually angels. Okay, you got the fallen angels, and you got the holy angels. Okay, so they weren't a bunch of walking hulks of rock moving around. And also saying that the watchers, that Noah was having a relationship with the watchers is a bunch of bunk. Okay, the only thing that I know of that had ever happened was when Enoch was called by the watchers for Enoch to plead to God so that they would not be judged, and the same for their children. But their children would be judged and they would be destroyed in the flood. Okay? Which are, of course, the giants. And also, he wasn't a friend with them. Okay? Noah was not a friend with the watchers. So wherever they got that from, I don't know. And Noah getting a vision through a drug-induced tea, that's a bunch of bunk too. Okay, that never happened. So there were a lot of things in that movie that never happened. Okay, in true history of the whole thing. If you wish to know the truth, concerning Noah, okay, and concerning all of these things, you need to get the book of Enoch, okay, as narrated and illustrated by, through Eric's teachings. Eric von Andersek, he's a chief apostle, Second Eighth Week Ministries. Okay, his teachings will show you, all right, the truth about the time that we are in. But above all, what I want to talk to you about is concerning the knowledge of God. I want to make a little bit of some exhortation here through what Eric had said today earlier. Now, Chief Apostle Eric von Andersek has the grace and truth of God to bring to you direction and knowledge and worship. If you are in the false religious system, then you need to abandon it and embrace the knowledge of God through true government. Now, Chief Apostle Eric told us that today our profession of faith must be linked to the covenant of Christ through his government and spirit, and not the vain philosophies of man. All the good works that you might do in this world will not bring you into salvation through Jesus Christ. Do you understand that? Okay? And this is a direct quote of Apostle Eric von Andersek. He says, if your profession of faith is absent of the effectual working of his power, then you need to re-examine your present theology. The consolation of the Spirit accompanies those of faith, confirming the blessing of Abraham upon the Gentiles. Okay, we are the Gentiles of this time. We are the ones to receive the knowledge of Jesus Christ. When we receive the knowledge of Jesus Christ and we are taking in the covenant of Christ, we thus become the sons of God, the sons and daughters of God. We are now, basically, if you want to come down to it, we are the true Jews. Okay? We don't follow the laws of Judaism. We don't follow the law of Moses. We follow the law of Christ. Now, if the Jews had continued to follow succession covenants, okay, then they would have that inheritance. But they no longer do. Now, the circumcision of the hypocrite, okay, makes sore the aspirations and brings the curse of death. Now, the circumcision of the righteous is confirmed by the sign Christ, to which house they are born of to bring forth fruit unto life. So I go on to comment on this, okay. We have to understand it is by his government and spirit and truth, okay, and not by the vain philosophies of man, okay, that we will come into the plan of God. Now, all the good, like I said, all the good works in the world will not bring man salvation through Christ. God established his plan for man's salvation from the beginning through Christ. And it is through the plan of Christ that we have the effectual working of God's power to transform us into Christ's image. And this is by our faith and our obedience to his Spirit. The Spirit of God confirms our faith through our experience with the manifold graces of God. The regeneration of the soul and the renewing of the mind. These are things you probably never even heard of. And of course, our reciprocation of charity. Now, as we continue in these things, we bear the mark of Christ in both word and in action. You're probably saying, what is the reciprocation of charity? Well, charity good works? No, charity is not good works. Charity is the expression of God's grace and truth. You've heard of doxologies in your church. Well, you're doing false doxologies, and we're doing the true doxologies. Okay? Now, go on here. It says, all our obedience to the grace and truth of God through our acknowledging, molding with, and submitting to God's government through true living apostles such as Eric von Andersek, okay, bears witness to the plan of God who is Christ. Now, we cannot be the author of our own salvation. This is by devising a framework that is absent of the knowledge of God through God's government. Okay? If we do this, this is wickedness. This is by preserving our own framework, void of the knowledge and the power of God. And by doing this, and we put the label God on it, it came from God or Jesus Christ, then we are taking the name of God in vain. By developing a framework that will not do us any good. It will not bring us salvation. That's what it means to take the name of God in vain. Okay? Now, many of you on many pages on Facebook and other social network sites have heard of Second Eighth Week. Okay, but the thing is, many of you have not come into this knowledge. Instead, you've been resisting that knowledge. Resisting the grace of God. And by this, you are living a lie through the doctrine of devils. These doctrines are sympathetic to your faith in the moral code. Okay? In other words, good works according to law. Alright, these things bear witness with your vain imaginations, your aspirations, and principles. We don't work by these when we're Christians. Okay? We have to come through the government of God in order to be educated in direction and function and worship, and so that we also know how to use the tools of our priesthood through Jesus Christ for the regeneration of the soul and the renewing of the mind. Okay? Now, these apostles through Second Eighth Week are here to lead you out of the darkness of the false knowledge of this world to embrace the grace and truth of God. Those who abandon the false knowledge of this world and obey the grace of God shall be sons of God and bear His likeness. But those who continue to follow the darkness of this world and seek to fulfill their flesh will perish, and their sentence against God will bring them death. So, listen and heed the words of God's grace and embrace His Son through the knowledge of God, and tear down the idols of false Christ and accept the true Christ, and you shall have light of life that never perishes within your soul. This is Eric Last Day's Voice, signing off.